Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the garden. We have an exciting episode. Is this a show now? For y'all today. Today, I am going to be getting all of the dahlia tubers out of storage and seeing what the damage is. Now, I don't have the best track record with storing dahlias, admittedly, but I think I tried something new last year. And I think it might have done really, really well. So I'm eager to see that. I do have a lot of very beautiful varieties that I grew last year. And of course, I've been multiplying and collecting my own bulbs for several years now. I know I've gotten hundreds of emails from people this season like, oh, are you selling this? Are you selling that? Are you selling that? And I'm not selling anything. I even kind of gave up on answering the emails because there are so many of them. Anyway, pulling these out of storage. Wow, these look unexpectedly great. Now, what I don't like about this method is that I had to use a lot of plastic Ziploc bags, and that's a bummer because I do try to limit my use of plastic in the garden, believe it or not. However, this storage method worked great. All I have is a regular, normal suburban basement. I don't have access to a cold cooler or anything. But what I did is I dug up my tubers in the fall and I let them dry out very well a few days outside, and then I packed them in vermiculite with several bunches of tubers into 1 gallon bags. After I put them into 1 gallon bags, I left the bags open the entire winter. I didn't close the bags, but I packed those into cardboard boxes, and I stored them in a dark closet in my basement, and I did not check on them for a long time. And much to my surprise, despite being in my basement and in the complete darkness, a lot of these tubers have started to grow. I opened up the door and there was like tentacles. It looked like a bunch of octopi trying to grab me. It kind of freaked me out. I'm not going to lie about it. It was kind of weird. I was like, what are you guys doing in here? But they're alive and they're well and they look great. So what I'm going to be doing today actually is I'm going to start potting up these dahlia tubers. Now, I do pot up dahlia tubers a little bit later than a lot of other people simply because I don't have indoor grow lights. I don't use them. I don't have the space in my house. So what I'm going to be doing is using the winter sowing method to start my dahlia tubers, to pre-sprout my dahlia tubers. Now, you might be saying, whoa. You just used winter sowing as a catch-all for everything. And that's true. I totally use this technique for everything because it works so incredibly well, and it's like crazy accessible to people. Even if you ain't got much money, you probably can find a plastic container laying around. So if you haven't seen my video called The Complete Guide to Winter Sowing Method, I'll put a link in the cards right now so you can click it. I totally recommend watching that video first to get an understanding of what the winter sowing method is. So basically, we're going to be using either a low tunnel. In my case, I'm going to be using a low tunnel, or a milk jug or some kind of recycled plastic bottle as little miniature greenhouses. These miniature greenhouses are really going to provide the ideal conditions in terms of humidity and moisture and everything that we really need to get that growth jump started in the spring, even without grow lights and even while the weather is still a little bit cool. So what I'm going to do personally in my garden is I am going to be starting all these plants in these open mesh trays. What I like to do is just put a bit of recycled paper down in the bottom of this tray. Usually I use like a newsprint or something like that. Be aware of the types of inks and things. Avoid glossy. Just do a little bit of research. And then I fill these open mesh trays with potting soil. Once I've done that, I'm going to arrange the tubers in a single layer into the tray and cover it with a little bit more potting soil. Now, the entire tuber does not have to be covered. You don't have to really pack it in really, really tight or anything. As long as the majority of the tuber is covered, the top can obviously stick out. And in fact, that's something you may even want if you plan on taking cuttings from these dahlias later, which I'm sure I will probably do as well. So once I have kind of packed these in here, all I'm going to do is water this really well and move it into my unheated low tunnel. I'm doing this in the spring. I'm doing this about 4 to 6 weeks before my last predicted frost date in my growing zone. This will give them plenty of time to get started, so they will be a nice healthy size to transplant out in the garden when the time does come and the soil has finally warmed. Now, Since these are a frost tender plant, we will need to pay attention to predicted frost, okay? Now, if I'm using this tunnel method, if there is a frost predicted and they haven't sprouted or anything, I like to just kind of throw a frost blanket over top. It should be fine because, like I said, we do have that row cover on top of them. If they have started to sprout already and there is a frost predicted, I like to keep the row cover on top of them, but I also cover them with a frost blanket underneath the row cover. I'm not sure that this is absolutely necessary. It's just something that I like to do just because I like to play it safe with my dahlias. If there is a freeze predicted, I may even bring the dahlia plants, all the trays completely in the house just to, play it safe. So this is something that you have to consider, even though you are using this technique to keep, the weather warm and make conditions ideal. You do have to kind of monitor it and learn what is going to work and what is not going to work. Some people really dislike that, but at the same time, it has its pros and cons, and I think there are definitely more pros in my case when I'm using it. The last way to do it, of course, is to use a milk jug, just kind of classic old school winter sowing. And I'll go ahead and I'm going to pot one of these plants up in a milk jug just to show you what that would look like. Basically, I'm just going to cut the container around the center until it makes a hinge. And don't forget to use the drainage holes because drainage is very important with any plant. And I'm going to fill it with potting soil about maybe 4 to 6 inches. You can probably do less. You could probably get away with less, but I like 4 to 6 inches. It seems to retain the moisture really well. And I'm just going to pot up my dahlia tuber just like we did in the other case with the open trays. I'm going to close that container, put a little piece of tape on the outside, and set it outside in a bright sunny place. The same kind of rules and conditions apply in terms of frost and things like that. So you do got to kind of keep an eye on them if there is some cold weather projected. But otherwise, they should start to sprout fairly quickly. That's really about it for this video. I hope that it was helpful. I hope it was useful in some way. If you have any question, as always, you can leave them down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Sometimes it takes me a little bit of time to get through all the comments, but I do try to read them all and answer them all if I can. I hope that you're having a really great day. As always, the links to all my stuff, my blog and the Patreon and the second channel and everything are down there in the description below. Other than that, I hope you're having a really great day, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.